my mind, the key challenge for India is really to grow rapidly at rates of 9 to 10% per annum, year after year, year after year, year after year, for 3 decades or more, to be able to lift a very, very, very young population above the poverty line. India is passing through a window of demographic transition, which rarely happens in history. To my mind, we've made India an extremely complex, very difficult, and a very complicated place to do business. And actually, we need to scrap and do away a lot of procedures, paperwork, rules, regulations, and much of that is happening, actually. Much of that work is happening. We've tried to create a sense of competition among states. But let me assure you that if India wants to make a quantum jump in terms of becoming the easiest and the simplest place to do business in, it's not feasible, it's not possible, till India doesn't use digital technology and doesn't innovate. So to my mind, the key to India in many areas of growth, and first and foremost in making itself the easiest and the simplest place to do business in, is by just using technology, just using digital technology to leapfrog. And to my mind, that is really the key. The key for India is make yourself the easiest and simplest place to do business in. Secondly, I think it's important to understand that we are living in a globalized world. And in a globalized world, you need to integrate with the global economy. And therefore, India needed to open up its economy, and India has actually done that. It's opened up its economy across sectors, defense, railways. We've just announced the biggest railway projects, giving out almost 40,000 crore worth of projects to GE and Alstom. So defense, railways, construction, medical devices, actually India, other than multi-brand retail, is the most open economy of the world. And our FDIs have grown by about 46% as compared to a decline of almost 22% across the world. So India has grown while the rest of the world has slowed down. And India really is an oasis of growth in the midst of a very barren economic landscape. But India needs to continue to sustain that momentum. India needs to grow with greater vigor, with greater energy. And I think there are several exciting things happening in this country, and one of which is that there is a unique combination of technology, good entrepreneurship, and to my mind, frugal engineering taking place in India, which is driving innovation in many ways. And much of that will get reflected in what is happening in the manufacturing world across the world. Many of us in India were used to the manufacturing being very dark, dirty, dangerous. All that is rapidly changing. And in fact, manufacturing is becoming extremely fashionable, extremely sexy. If you go to a factory like Tesla, you'll realize it's like walking through the Emporio showroom. It's exactly like that. The CEO sits in the shop floor, which is like a very, very fashionable place. So the world of manufacturing is radically altering. And why it's radically altering is because manufacturing companies are all becoming digital companies. You will not have manufacturing companies for too long. And the world of digital technology is radically altering manufacturing. And what is happening is that manufacturing companies are not looking at just the production. Their distribution network, their retail outlets, their consumer choices are all being decided on a real-time basis. On a real-time basis, they are being influenced. And what the consumer decides is having an impact on the production place on a completely real-time basis. And whether you call it advanced manufacturing, whether you call it smart manufacturing, whether you call it manufacturing 4.0 across the world, and there are several studies to demonstrate this, that Germany today almost 82% of the companies are today investing in advanced manufacturing. Americans are investing in smart manufacturing. And there is a huge manufacturing revolution which is being fueled by digital technology. And I think one of the key advantages which India has, having invested in its IITs, is that it can use digital technology. And because it's got some of the finest programmers in the world, and many of the international companies across the world have the their companies are being driven by Indian programmers, India can utilize this huge opportunity of having created that asset early on and having invested on its education to use digital technology in the manufacturing process to leapfrog. And to my mind, that is critical. If the challenge for India is to grow at 9 to 10%, your manufacturing has to grow at 13 to 14% per annum year after year. And unless manufacturing doesn't grow, you will not be able to create jobs. And the only way manufacturing in future will grow is this convergence of digital technology and manufacturing. And therefore, to my mind, India has a huge ebb. The second key thing, to my mind, is that there's the process of urbanization is going to be very, very critical to India's growth in the years to come. In the next 2 decades, India will see 350 million Indians getting into the process of urbanization. If you go by the McKinsey study, by 2050, 700 million additional Indians will get into the process of urbanization. That is, as I speak here today, every minute there are 30 Indians moving from rural areas to urban areas. That would really imply that by 2050, India has to create 2.5 Americas. And therefore, the challenge is when America urbanized, land, gas, and water were all cheaply available. And therefore, you could live in New Jersey, travel to New York, you could guzzle gas, you could create cities like Atlanta where 98% of the people travel by car. But that's a luxury India cannot afford. And therefore, America created cities which guzzle gas, which pollute the rest of the world. But the challenge for India is American cities were all created for cars. American cities were not created for people. The American car companies bought up railway companies, destroyed them so that Ford and General Motors cars could sell. But India doesn't have that luxury. India's challenge is to create innovative and sustainable cities of the future as it urbanizes. And that's the challenge. The challenge is, can it embed technology? And the future is, whether Cisco calls it smart and intelligent cities, whether IBM calls it smart cities, or the Koreans call it ubiquitous cities, the challenge for India is to embed technology and use smart technology to enable people to take smart decisions on a real-time basis and leapfrog. So the second key challenge, other than manufacturing, is the process of urbanization. That's critical, that's important. But the important thing is that there are exciting things happening in India. For the first time in India's history, I mean, if you look at a leading car manufacturer like Renault in its 118 years history of a European company, has never, ever manufactured a car or innovated a car outside Europe. And Renault, for the first time in its 118 years history, innovated, designed, and manufactured a car called the Renault Kwid from Chennai for export to the rest of the market, for the global markets. Hyundai came into India as a car manufacturer looking for the domestic market, but today it exports 62% of its production to the rest of the world. Look at General Electrics. Their ECG, which they manufacture for $1,500 in India, the same ECG they manufacture for $15,000 in the United States of America. So for in India, it's possible for them to do an ECG for just $1. Provide accessibility to people at extremely low cost. And that's, to my mind, is innovation. I think the ISRO has already demonstrated that it's possible for India to put its spaceship across the Mars at 1/10 the cost of what the rest of the world has done, and that's nothing but engineering innovation, just engineering innovation. So I think India is passing at this huge cusp of digital technology, innovation, frugal engineering, entrepreneurship, all blended into one. And this is all leading to what I would say is a huge energy, a huge vitality, a huge energy, which is rarely ever seen in this country in terms of the young startups, all using technology to jump forward. And to my mind, the kind of atmospherics which India is witnessing in the startup movement is only next to Silicon Valley. And therefore, to my mind, much of India's growth in the years to come will be driven by these very many young people across the world, and particularly in India, who will drive growth, who will bring in disruptionist technology, who will really change India for the better. There are 500 million, by 2017, we'll have about 500 million connected internet users. They will create huge consumer demands. To my mind, in just 5 years' time, India has moved from just about 10 million to about 150 million smartphone users. By 2017, we'll have about 300 million smartphone users. E-commerce has started to boom out. There are 50 million Indians buying products online today. But let me assure you, by 2017, and by the end of the decades, today the consumer e-commerce market is just 65,000 crores. And I know by people say by end of the decade it will be 50 million, but I can bet it that it will be about 100 billion market by the end of the decade. And India, China today is about close to 450 billion. India is just 10 billion. So my target is that by 2019, 2020, India will be about 100 billion market in e-commerce. With the spread of broadband, with the spread of digital technology, local languages will boom. I am seeing that in the years to come, local languages will become one of the key drivers of growth. I was in Kerala. I was amazed to see that a lot of business transactions happening in Malayalam, in Andhra Pradesh, they are happening in Telugu. And I think many of the digital technologies, digital companies need to give a thrust to this. So even in digital advertising, last year India has clocked 1 billion in terms of digital technology. And let me assure you, press advertising, print advertising is just going to die out in the next 2 years in India. So the spread, the reach of digital technology will be so encompassing, so rapid, so fast, from urbanization to manufacturing to e-commerce, it will radically change India. India is at a cusp of change which has never seen before. India is seeing an energy, vitality, and dynamism which it has never seen in its history. And in the next three decades, 30 years, India will change in a manner in which it has not changed in the last 5,000 years, thanks to digital technology and innovation. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.